Carolina Panthers heading into the 2025 draft, they're kind of in a weird spot. So last year, obviously they improved from being the #1 pick but not having it because they traded it for Bryce Young to being 5 wins. However, they still have a top 10 pick, but they have a lot of issues to address. One of them issues that they don't have to address is quarterback, because after getting benched, Bryce Young, he came out of that looking like a completely different quarterback, more confident. Even in the last game, he was turning around before the ball even fucking got caught. But yeah, so they have a lot of issues to tackle this offseason, especially this draft. But one position I could see them going is wide receiver. They desperately need one because obviously Adam Thielen, he's old. Xavier Legette, he still needs to show some more promise, and I don't even know what other receivers they have after that. So that's why at the 8th pick, I have them picking Tetairoa. At the end, how you say his name, McMilan from Arizona. I feel like he could be the missing piece. He's 6'5", so Bryce Young will have a big target to get. And also, I think they'll sign like T. Higgins or some shit in the offseason. But anyways, so obviously we have Tetairoa. At the end, how you say his name, McMilan here. We have his same exact stats from college football. That's why he's a 95 overall. And yeah, we're gonna simulate, see how his career goes. It's a little different because it's a receiver. Usually all the ones I've done so far have been quarterbacks, but hey, we'll see how McMilan does. Yeah, just like the previous videos I've done, the simulation will either end after he wins 3 rings. Boy, I can't talk. He either wins 3 rings, he retires, or if he leaves the Panthers. So yeah, let's see, can Tetairoa McMilan save the Carolina Panthers? Let's see how he does in year #1. Okay, so for year #1, they actually went 5-12 and missed the playoffs. So they had the same exact record they did IRL, but see how McMilan did in year #1. Okay, so McMilan would have 94 receptions, 1,062 yards, and 12 touchdowns. So he had actually a pretty solid rookie season, considering also the other receiver in his core also had 95 receptions and 1,000+ yards. But yeah, let's see how they can do in year #2. Okay, so for year #2, they go 11-6 and get into the playoffs as a #3 seed. Let's see how McMilan did this year. Okay, so for year #2, McMilan would have 91 receptions, 1,072 yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. So statistically, he had a worse year, but team-wise, they improved. So yeah, let's see. McMilan is still receiver 2 kinda on the Panthers because Thielen is there. But let's see, can they beat the Eagles in the first round? And no, they cannot. They'll lose 20-7. How did McMilan do? Did he ghost? 7 receptions, 84 yards. Thielen only had 1 catch, but it was an 85-yard touchdown. But let's see how they can do in year #3. Okay, so the Panthers would finish 9-8, still getting into the playoffs, but as a 7th seed. Let's see how McMilan did in year #3. Okay, so McMilan would have 96 receptions, 1,293 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So he's finally receiver 1, and he finally got over 1,000 yards. But yeah, let's see if they could pull off the upset of the playoffs, probably an upset of #7 seed Panthers or Seahawks. The fuck am I saying? So the Panthers would lose again in the first round, losing 17-9, which I mean, I guess the #2 seed isn't bad. Let's see, how did McMilan do? McMilan 2 catches for 34 yards. So yeah, he kind of ghosted, not gonna lie, but hey, maybe year #4 is his year. Okay, so the Titans, the Panthers would go 13-4, getting the #1 seed in the playoffs. What the fuck did they do in this offseason? So let's see, how did McMilan do in year #4? Okay, so McMilan would have 100 receptions for the first time in his career, 1,419 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So obviously, them getting the 13 wins, he had a big step up, which he did do. And yeah, I mean, let's see who we play in the 2nd round. Okay, so they have a matchup with the Eagles. So can they finally get back from year #2, I think it was? Let's see, can the Panthers beat the Eagles? And yes, they will. They'll beat them 34-17. How did McMilan do? McMilan disappeared. He literally didn't get a catch. Okay, I mean, that's a good thing that they still won and he didn't get a catch, but I mean, come on, bro, you can't disappear. Okay, so can we beat the Packers in advance to the first Super Bowl of the video? And I forgot we have to simulate another week. As they will beat the Packers 41-35. They beat them in overtime. How did McMillan do? Bryce Young threw for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. McMillan had 14 catches, 219 yards, and a touchdown. Damn, he really popped off to send them to the Super Bowl. Well, they'll be going against the Buffalo Bills. Can they win ring number 1? Let's see. So no, the Bills would end up winning the Super Bowl over the Panthers. So I think for the first time in my simulation history that we lose a Super Bowl. But damn, Panthers were close, 13-4. And that means year number 5 they're gonna go crazy, which is also probably a contract year for McMillan unless they re-signed him, which they probably did. And let's see how McMillan does in year number 5. Okay, so the Panthers would regress from that 13-4 season, going 8-9 and missing the playoffs entirely. So I don't know what changed this year. Maybe someone got hurt, but yeah, let's see how McMillan did in year number 5. Okay, so McMillan would only have 70 receptions for 996 yards, which is barely 4 under 1,000 and 10 touchdowns. So his stats obviously went down this year. They did get a new receiver who basically put up the same stats, which makes me kind of concerned because Legette's also doing good. So I mean, they had 3 solid receivers, but from McMillan's perspective, this is not good for him. But yeah, let's head to year number 6. Okay, so the Panthers would make the playoffs at 9-8. Actually, why is Goff back with the Rams? Whatever, but 9-8, they make the playoffs as the 7th seed. So they're kind of going in the same trajectory as last time. Let's see how McMillan did in year number 6. Okay, so McMillan would have 83 receptions, 1,233 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So he found his way to be receiver 1 while still sharing targets with 2 other receivers at 70 plus catches also, but he has a lot more yards than they do. Okay, Carolina, can you pull off an upset? Is the upset possible? The upset is not possible. They lose 24-21. How did McMillan at least do? McMillan only had 4 catches for 36 yards, so he sort of ghosted. I know he didn't sort of ghost, he did ghost. Okay, year number 7, McMillan. This is kind of a big year because you're about to maybe start declining, but who knows. So year number 7, here we go. Okay, so once again the Panthers would go 9-8, missing the playoffs, and hopefully McMillan did pretty good. Okay, so McMillan would have 83 receptions, 1,208 yards, and 16 touchdowns. However, that was not enough to pull Carolina into the postseason. Okay, so I kept simulating and simulating to eventually to the point where he would retire after 2 years after his 5-year contract. So he ended up putting up a 14-year career. However, they never even sniffed the Super Bowl once again after the one appearance where they lost against Buffalo. This is how the rest of his career stats look like. He had a pretty good career, a couple Pro Bowls, no really big awards. He was just kind of not there, but he was one of those receivers that were like maybe going into the top 5 like every year, but he just didn't have enough around him outside of Bryce Young. So yeah, he didn't win anything. The Panthers didn't win anything, and I think for one of the only times this is not a success. And the thing is, McMillan, he had a good career. Like, he didn't even have a I think only his rookie year, he didn't have 1,000 yards, but every other season after he had it. So 13 years in a row with 1,000 yards is pretty good. But, yeah, so he does not save the Carolina Panthers. Comment down below what other players, like draft prospects, I should do. And, yeah, I have a couple in mind already, but comment down below what other ones I should do. Like the video, subscribe, road to 1,000 if we haven't hit it already. And yeah, I don't know how to end these things, but